All right. So guys, it's that time of the year and we need to talk. It's the holidays.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people feel one of two extremes. I have people in my family that feel both extremes on both opposite ends. It's either really like that angst and stress of all the things, or it's like this excitement and joy for everything that it brings. And I host most holidays. So I'm hoping to share like the three main things that not only help me survive, but I would like to say thrive. And I know that I said that a lot, but I love some Maya Angelou.
I know.
It's really like a survival kit for the holidays. And what are those three things? Well, number one's always planning. That will be my number one forever and ever.
Calling card, 100%.
Style and the sentimental value to it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, and that may be a hard time for people sometimes, depending on their personal situation or whatever. But I mean, the holidays, it's such a time for memories. Like you conjure up all those, wonderful memories that you had as a kid. And that's where I'm saying it could be traumatic for some people.
Yeah.
But it is, just a sentimental time, and it's a wonderful time. Usually people have time off and they can just spend it with their family and hopefully not be stressed.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
I agree.
I think today we're going to talk about, you are going to share all of your wonderful ways, how you avoid stress.
Yeah. Cause I think, the person that made the holidays the most memorable for me, I lost, which was my mama. So you'll hear about her a lot. But I think that's why it's really important to me to focus on these things to get through the holidays, because it really elevates that moment for me that could really be sad. So I get the sadness piece of it, but I really am very intentional in working through those three parts, those three boxes that I unpack every holiday. To make sure that she is actually honored in the most valuable way possible.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful. Okay. So then what do the holidays look like for you? Like you said you host most of the time.
I do.
So are we talking Thanksgiving? Are we talking Christmas? What are we?
Both typically. Okay. So this was a rule of thumb when we had children. We decided to say that if you want to see us for the holidays, you're coming to us, because I know a lot of people have to hit all the places, whether it be this in-laws and those parents and these grandparents and this aunt and uncles and this sisters. And so we really do put a schedule in place, and we try to be the person that says, okay, we'll open our home for all of those moments.
Right.
So that, we are the ones with the youngest. I mean, some of my sisters and brothers do have younger ones too, and we have a separate setting for that. But a lot of the like main event items happen at our house.
Right. The big events you guys are hosting. So this episode really is going to be geared towards the host.
Yeah, I would say so.
The host.
Yeah. Okay. How to do that without pulling your hair out and drinking a lot.
Drinking heavily.
Yes.
Heavily. Okay. So you're hosting, you don't travel. I mean, is everybody's family here locally or?
I mean, we travel. The only time we travel is up to Hickory, and you know that,
right.
To see my mom.
30 minutes away.
Yeah, it's not
an hour.
It's not terrible. Max. But that's about the only traveling we do. Pretty much everybody else is kind of local, and they come to us, so it's not too much of a out of the way thing.
Okay, so this is a big one, and I know we're going to dig into these. Decorating.
Yeah, we're going to hit that hard.
How much do you decorate?
Okay, well, first of all, I love Christmas. So that holiday, it's a lot more than the other ones. But for Thanksgiving too, I think the biggest thing on that is really pinpointing your vision.
Right.
And honestly, making it timeless so that you can do it over and over and over again. So we'll definitely kind of unpack that a little more, won't we?
Yeah. Okay. So we know you love to plan. But let's talk about how important it is to plan when we're talking about hosting the holidays.
Yeah. Planning of everything is important. Let me just say that. Like, if I could preach, let me get on a soapbox. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So planning for the holidays is huge, and it doesn't have to be elaborate. Like, I don't do full place settings and spreads and stuff like that either, but planning has to be pretty just structured in a sense of like, okay, we have a menu. Like, this is the menu, and think about your audience. Sorry, that's my marketing coming out at me. think about your family that's coming over there, not the audience.
The audience.
Jesus.
Let me welcome
Who's
you.
coming over to your house? Think about them and think about also, do you want to spend most of your time in the kitchen? And in our kitchen design, intentionally, it's very open. So
Right.
everybody's with me if I am cooking. But more or less, think about what are they going to eat? Do you have picky eaters? And then narrowing it down to really just like the staple items, right? Like your main meats and your main sides, and you don't need to have 10 different casseroles, and you don't have to have like 12 different types of deviled eggs or puddings. Like give yourself that whole 3 to 5, maybe 7 is stretching it, items that are just going to be on your menu, and stick to it.
Okay, so you're talking about a menu. Does
Mhm.
that mean no one brings anything?
No, I have people bring stuff.
Okay.
I
So
delegate.
you're talking about you set the menu for the whole event,
I do.
and then you delegate out.
Oh yeah.
And say, okay, you're going to bring the mashed potatoes, you're bringing the squash casserole, whatever it is. Okay.
Yep. I do, because once again, I took over Thanksgiving when my mama passed away, and I was like, I want to recreate the experience that I walked into every Thanksgiving. So I do keep some of those main dishes to myself because it's a memory for me. But other stuff that I don't necessarily am not great at, or I don't I don't know how to make as well, but other people love that as part of their Thanksgiving meal.
Right.
I ask them to bring those things,
Okay.
and it actually helps people feel included.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, here is our menu. Can you help with this? Do you mind bringing this? I know you love this and you do a great job at it. So like,
Right.
I pull family members in with me to help me with those things. Also, because that keeps the budget down on my grocery pickup, and because they will remember the things that I always forget, like utensils or paper plates or drinks, because we don't drink like different things at home. We drink water and milk.
Yeah.
And that's the extent of our fridge. And so people are like, I'll bring the sweet tea and I'll make like a cider or something. I'm like, great, perfect. So it helps it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're water people too. I struggle with the drinks, and I never remember the utensils.
Never.
Ever. And then now we're all eating on plate, like real plates.
Yep. So
which is, I mean, honestly, it's fine. We have dishwasher. It's not a big deal, but
yeah.
But yeah, I know. Yeah. Utensils gets me every time. Even if we're just having like a small shindig get together, whatever, it doesn't matter. I forget about it every time.
Yep.
Okay. So you've got the menu, you're planning. What about like a theme? Do you have a theme?
Yes. I yes, this is where I get made fun of, because people are like, oh my God, you're so like put together. And I'm like, no, it's just so I don't fall apart. Literally. I do come up with a theme. So it's, for example, we do typically Thanksgiving on Black Friday with part of my husband's family.
Okay.
And our theme for those is most of the time like grilled cheese bar and soups. So, and it's football. I mean, like you're watching football, it's cold, it's after Thanksgiving. And so we'll throw some soups, different soups in crock pots, and somebody will bring some soups. And then we like get some different types of cheeses and breads. And we have a grilled cheese bar.
Have like a gourmet grilled cheese bar.
Sure. Yeah. On paper plates, it's gourmet.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do things like that. Or even when it bleeds into like the decorations, like sometimes I think about, okay, well, what am I cooking? Well, that's going to play into whatever my decor looks like too. I know that's really, sure, it can sound extra.
No. That's kind of where I was thinking.
But it simplifies my life, because I'm like, this is what I stick to. I don't go outside of this box. That means I don't need to go on that aisle over there for those things and those colors, even though they're pretty.
Right.
So that's why I do that.
So you start out really before you're like, oh, I got to start planning. I got to start thinking. What's the menu? You start with a big picture, like vision for the holidays.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So talk through that. What is that? Like, what are you getting on Pinterest to try to figure that out? Like, or are you just going off of like your love for all things mama, or what?
You know, I've never been able to articulate this out loud, but what happens to me in everything that I do, and then this also happens to me with design and my holiday decorating, is I come up with this theme in my head and I'm like, okay, I know that this is what I want this to communicate, look like, feel like, smell like, all the things. And then I go down the rabbit holes of Pinterest and, shopping and Amazon. And I don't hardly ever end up buying things because I'm like, I'm going to go down in my basement and see what I got.
Yeah.
But I actually sometimes just dream of something. And, I don't know how easy that happens for some people, but I'll look at one thing and be like, my entire holiday is going to be themed around that one candlestick. And that is what happens to me, y'all.
And is this candlestick, is that something that you have in your collection, or is that something you bought at the store?
It's both sometimes.
Okay.
I'll walk downstairs and I'll be like, oh my God, I have not seen this in so long. And I'm taking it up here, and my entire house is going to revolve around this one itty bitty item.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have any examples like how this planning process has made a difference? Like how has it like improved the holiday experience for you?
Because I choose one thing, and we all have personalities. Like we all find something that kind of identifies over and over again our patterns, because that's what we live on, right? I can repeat and use the same things that are in my basement. I don't know if some of y'all are the person that literally does a new theme every year and has to go and buy new stuff every year.
Yeah.
But it really saves on our budget. I'm like, I have this one painting that my mom and dad gave me, and it sits on my mantle, and it's got a gold frame, and it's a Christmas painting.
Yeah.
But so everything else tends to fall in line with it every year. But even if I add new stuff, I'm like, okay, it's only one or two things because I have everything. So I would say making a big picture and truly doing that upfront planning for that is going to save you money. It's going to save you time. And then each year, you got to find something you fall in love with. I think that's the biggest thing. Like if you fall in love with it, you can do it over and over and over again, which is going to be like the main event show for you. And so then you're not like, oh my God, but I need to add this or I need to make this. And so I would say it's efficient and effective. I mean, let's just be business for a minute.
We know is your bread and butter. Okay. So you're talking about this painting that you got from your mom and your stepdad.
Yeah.
And then you also have been talking about your grandmother.
Yeah.
Right. So there's this element of nostalgia in kind of like your design theme and your decoration style. Right.
Yeah.
So kind of talk us through that. What does that really look like?
I'm a big fan of mixing old inherited with a few new pieces. And I know that you are too. Well, and like, we'll get to that for sure. We got to talk about that. You got to share it.
Oh, well, I'm sure it could be its own episode, but yeah.
But I do that because some things have true meanings to me. Like I have this one, like Christmas, for example, I have this one Santa Claus, and he's very old and vintage and beautiful. And he has a velvet hat. He has like yarn as a beard, and it's incredible. Yeah. And it was my mama's. And so it's like I put him on a new wreath. Like I put him in like a magnolia wreath. Oh. And hang it somewhere in my house, right? Yeah, and so it makes it look very much curated, very high, whatever high-end Haute like this episode, without like trying to reinvent the wheel every time,
right?
Or like that painting, it reminds me of the good times at home, or like the snows. I don't see snow much down here,
right?
Hardly ever. And so it reminds me of like sledding down the big old hill in our backyard. We lived over there by my malls. So it brings back all those memories, and I like to kind of keep those in my mind when I'm
hang on to those. Yeah. Okay. So so you've talked about kind of like blending the old stuff with the new stuff. Give us some examples of what, like, and I know you got your painting, you're giving us the vintage examples, but what about like new stuff? What are you actually going to the store to buy?
Disco balls, always. Okay. So listen, if you don't own a disco ball, you need one, and it needs to be somewhere in your house. year round, every holiday, disco balls. I did this last year and it cracks people up, but it actually works so well. And I have disco balls right now with my Thanksgiving or my fall stuff.
Yeah. If you don't believe her, go look at her Instagram. There are multiple pictures of the interior of her home where she's got disco balls included in her.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's something new that I think people should go and invest in. But honestly, what else? There are so many fun candlesticks out there right now that are new. Have you seen them? There are colored ones, there are glass ones. I've seen them everywhere, but they have this hint of nostalgia because they're colors. They're like those deep colors.
Yeah.
And so those would work for all holidays. Like there's some, if I didn't have so many candlesticks right now, or candle holders, whatever you want to call them, I would buy some, but they look great on shelves with like your fall decor, and they really add a little bit of a punch so that you don't look like you're just a box store. Like you don't look like you just walked into a box store that just set out their holiday selection. You need to mix those really funky pieces that have nostalgia to them or are different with your new items, or even just find something that's in your cabinet that will make it still feel like a home and not a holiday section of a store, I think is a really big deal for me.
True. Well, and as you were talking, I thought about one thing that I think is important to just say out loud is that both of us, I think, are big advocates for color when it comes to decor. I mean, there for a while, like beiges and neutrals really had their moment. And I can tell you just from interior design, going to the International Builder Show, Kitchen and Bath Show earlier this year, color is really starting to make a comeback. But if you go on Pinterest, you're still seeing a lot of that like white and the beige and like the bland. I don't want to call it bland because I have a good friend who has that aesthetic and her house is absolutely stunning. She has done it so well. I mean, with the textures and just, all of her selections, it's beautifully done. But, rust orange is in my house everywhere. And it's one of my favorite colors. And so I will never be the person with that super neutral, like white beige aesthetic. So I mean, when we're talking about design, usually that's what we're talking about color and not just like a, muted forest green or hunter green. We're talking about color. So I think that's important to kind of point out too.
Yeah.
But I know people that do that, that white or, like the, more of the whites and then the linen fabrics and those types of textures with their holiday decor. And it's absolutely gorgeous too.
It's beautiful, but a disco ball would definitely make it a little more like festive. I'm just saying. I mean, and honestly, we think about it, it's like color brings a warmth, especially like even just this setting that we're in and recording.
I mean, this place is gorgeous.
And it just creates these moments of like talking or even inspiration, I think, more than anything. Like, and I know this is so woo, and I'm not even like a woo person, but I will see the texture of something. Like I have some glass beads and I'm like, ooh, I need to figure out how to make a freaking Thanksgiving dessert. Don't look at me like that. A Thanksgiving dessert that is this color because it's so pretty, which means it will probably taste really good. I know that's so crazy. So color is really, really an excellent thing. And sometimes I know like creams and things like that are calming and they're peaceful, but you still need to have a punch in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's to each their own.
I know.
We love color.
Well, and I say that and look at us both. We're both wearing like beiges and tans and stuff like that. So, I mean, I say that it's not like I don't have anything neutral at my house. It's just usually when we're talking about decor, especially at the holidays, it involves color for us.
Yes. Yeah.
So I know we're talking about us and sort of like your personal experience and your sentiments and your memories, but how do you think your decor choices impact your guests?
Yeah. Well, we host what we call Friendsmas every year.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when all of our friends come to our house. And so like hearing their experiences, because they constantly are like, oh my God, I absolutely love that. And where did you get that? And I'm like, oh my God, you can't get that because it was my mammals. So it's also like, 50 years old. But I know what it creates for them. And we even have a this is a very specific example, but it'll catch my point.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's perfect.
We have a, oh my gosh, baby Jesus. What are the scenes with baby Jesus?
What do you mean, a
Nativity scene. We have a nativity scene that I've kind of like taken pieces and parts of and created my own nativity. Like it actually changes every year, but it's the same pieces of like baby Jesus and the donkey and the cow and like Joseph and Mary and all and the wise men. And I put them on different things like cake plates or whatever I find in my cabinets. But a woman came to one of our princesses a few years ago and she's like, I used to have a nativity scene just like that. And all I can think about is when I would go to my mom's house for Christmas and she would have it set up. And I would just be like, that's exactly what I want everybody to feel like coming in my house.
Right.
And so it's like creating those childhood moments or even those moments that feel like you're coming home.
Right.
And that is like the goal of my house during the holidays and year round, but especially during the holidays when we have multiple people coming in, to feel like they can come in and they can like touch and they can feel and they can talk about, oh my God, this is what we used to have when I was a kid growing up, because those are the moments that we want to also provide for our little ones,
right,
growing up, and that one day they'll take into their home. And so like I think that that's my ultimate goal when I decorate, is it's obviously for me because that's why I do it, but that when other people come in and affirm that they are like, that happened to me, or this is something I remember growing up, I'm like, oh, melts my heart. I know I run a tight ship, but I'm also, soft underneath.
Very, very soft. But yeah, no, I totally get that. Yes. And I think I love vintage, period. And so I think that's part of it too. Like it's part for me, but I also love it when people come over and they have a memory to share.
Yeah.
That was sparked from that thing that I had in my house.
Yeah.
And so I think that's very special to just share with people and share those stories.
Yeah. Cause you have, are the candlesticks?
Oh Lord, I have so many candlesticks.
Well, they're the ones that my mom used to always put in our house. And, growing up, we didn't have a whole lot, but my mom still has hers too. And you've repainted yours, I think.
The blow mold ones? The
yes.
plastic ones?
They're some of my favorite. I want some so bad. But you go to a dang antique store and they're like $250 right now. So I do not have any.
Mine came off the side of the road. My husband buried his head. Well, he had to stop and let me out so I could get him and put him in the back of his truck.
Just putting this here, Mom. I want those one day. I want those blow molds.
No, what I want, I've been to a couple places. And I know a couple people that have them. Is the blow mold Santa? Like there's a big
one of those
blow mold Santa, and those suckers are pricey. Like if you go online and try to look for one, they are not cheap. I'll even take like a pitiful, like worn out one. I don't even care.
Yeah, because you can
I'll paint it. I'll paint it. I don't even care. But yeah, there's a special place in my heart for really all things vintage, but
yeah,
I love blow molds.
What's your outside of that, what's your other vintage piece that happens to show up during the holidays? And
vintage?
Like right now I have a bread pudding dish that was my grandmother's, Mama's, whatever you want to call her, but she's Mama to me. And it's got all the like the browns and the oranges and the yellows for fall, and it's on point. Like it's the center of my kitchen.
Well, I mean, I have vintage stuff out all the time, but I'm trying to think of maybe like one particular item. The one thing that's coming to my mind right this specific minute, could probably come up with something better if I thought about it a little bit longer, but my grandmother always had this. I think there was a time when I don't know if it was the 50s or the 60s. I don't know when exactly it was, but there was a lot of like DIY decorations going on. Like I have old magazines from that era that have like the how to make vintage, like how to make a decoration, but the magazine's from like 1965. So, it has all of that like nostalgic charm to the magazine, of course. But then like my grandmother, it's like this, I think it was from the furniture industry. And it's like the strapping that went on chairs, like before they put the cushions in and before they did all that. Like I think it was like the strapping as part of like the springs and all of that, because it's about this wide, like 4 inches ish wide. And it's kind of like burlappy material, but it also has like a red stripe on it. Okay. And so she, there's a couple of things made out of that stuff that she had, but there's this one thing and it has Noel written down. It's just like a vertical decoration with a bell at the bottom. And the Noel is spelled out in red pom-poms, and how in the world they're still attached to this thing, I have no idea. Anyway, I have this big, I think it used to be like a science cabinet out of an old school, like big oak. It looks like a hutch or like a china cabinet, but it's a little bit more utilitarian looking. So anyway, I hang that down the side of that thing, and it's very in a similar location as where she would always hang it, because and something we haven't really talked about is the house that I live in now used to be my grandmother's house. And so, I have a lot of things that I got from her estate sale and things like that I always bring out at the holidays. So I have a really close connection with my grandmother, like Megan does too. Yeah. But that's the thing that's coming to my mind the most, is that little tiny little like hanging thing that was probably made by her.
Yep.
And it hangs on that piece of furniture.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I'm already getting emotional about it because I can't wait. I think something else that we collected during our side hustle project is all the goblets.
Oh yeah.
My goblets come out. We have orange ones, the amber ones, and then we also have green ones. And so depending on the holidays, those get put on a shelf. I have open shelving in my kitchen. And they get put on the shelf. They actually, a lot of times are there year round too, but just the colors. And, that's not something that you have to go and find or buy brand new, but it brings this like punch. I think that's the moment. Is it just feeling fun or festive or creating conversation? Because I'm also not like a small talk person. I love deep conversation about stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think bring in some vintage, bring in some new, but make it fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, okay. So we've talked about planning. We've talked about, our decor style, mixing the new with the old, the nostalgia of it all, and those like sentimental feelings. When we're talking about our guests, or when you're talking about your guests, like how you've talked about it a little bit already, but like, how do you want them to feel when they walk away from your event? Is that even part of your planning process?
Yeah, I think so. I think what you're asking is like the experience itself, because an event is something that's put on,
right?
But the experience is more important for me. Because an event can be very well produced, but if it doesn't actually like create a feeling with your senses, whether it be smell, taste, all of those things, then it doesn't really create a memory, which is what the holidays are for, right? They're there to create the memories. So for me, I think about, I'm extremely intentional, but I'm also very aware of what I want my home to smell like, which is typically done by cooking. But I also have, I love a good candle. But I also have very like different textures that I think are warm and rich depending on what the holiday is. And then I also have things out that like make people feel like they're coming home, or that it's not that they're not walking into a store, but they're walking into a home where they can actually like sit down, take their shoes off, be comfortable.
Right.
And so all of those things I consider when I'm thinking about my guests coming over.
Yeah. So, as far as your guests, like, can you share like a specific, you shared and a specific example with the lady that saw the nativity. Do you have any other like good stories from like just like a heartwarming story where somebody, came over to, and it could be Thanksgiving, it could be Christmas, it could be anything, where they just like you really connected with them?
Yeah, I think, well, I can give everybody a practical purchase that they should make. Bowl huggers. I don't even know if that's the real name for them, but you know how sometimes you have to put stuff that's hot in a bowl, and then you have like these
like gravy or something like that,
sewn pockets that you put. I'll put a picture. Okay. I'll put a picture on Instagram for everybody to know. Anywho, these bowl huggers are like the biggest hit, and I've never even had to buy one because people just keep gifting them to me, and it's the best gift ever. But they're bowl huggers, and I have a basket of them, and they make people so happy when they come to my house because they get to pick out, like we have Star Wars themes, we have like barbecue theme, we have like gnomes and Christmas. Like we just have all these themed ones that have been given to me over the years, and they're new. They're not like inherited. They're just gifts. And they're my favorite gift. My sister gives them to me all the time. They're my favorite. But you get a bowl of soup, or you get a bowl of like hot corn and potatoes at Thanksgiving or whatever, and you stick it in the hugger so that you can hold it and it's not hot.
That I've never heard of this.
Okay, well, they're the hit. They're the biggest hit. They're the best gift you could probably give somebody. You know what's coming for Christmas now, Salem. And I think that those make a huge difference because it makes people feel, they just feel like at home and comfortable. They're like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever, because they can just hold their bowl and it's not hot. That's
well, and if they're all like different patterns, I'm sure everybody's like, oh, I want this one, or let me pick my favorite. Oh, that's cute.
Yep. I also wrap my gifts in most of the year. I wrap my gifts in newspaper. I don't really, or fabric. I don't really go out and buy lots of new wrapping paper.
Do you get the newspaper?
I don't, but my parents do, and they save them for me.
I was gonna say, how are you getting your hands on newspaper?
Somebody knows somebody.
Okay.
That has newspapers. I don't know why. But it's always a fun talking point because, you know, they're like, oh, this is fun. And I'll go buy like random ribbons and pom-poms and stuff to stick on them. But that's how I'm resourceful as well. And it creates like just this old feeling for people. Yeah. Smells. What's your favorite smell during the holidays?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think just like a classic, like Christmas tree scent is really
Christmas trees too, don't you?
We do a real Christmas tree. And then, you know, that they usually come in a tube, and they sell them at places like Michael's, but I'm sure they sell them everywhere. But it's like a tube, and they have these little sticks in them that you could in theory hang on your artificial tree that smells like a real Christmas tree. So I usually buy extra of those, even though I don't have a fake tree.
Not heard of that hack.
And I put them everywhere.
That's a hack because she gets a real Christmas tree. I was trying to make that connection. The smell of a real Christmas tree cannot, it's just like,
I know. And then those little sticks, you know, I don't have a real Christmas tree in every single room, so we put them everywhere else. The only thing I will say, I have ruined a piece of furniture with those things because they're kind of like an incense stick. So if you put a piece of incense like on a wooden table or anything, really, it will ruin the finish. So if you're going to sit it on something, make sure it's on like a plate or something glass, something that's going to protect whatever piece of furniture you're sitting it on. So usually like I'll tuck it in like a bookcase or like try to hide it because it's unattractive, but they smell great. So just don't sit it on your furniture. So
you get a real Christmas tree and you buy those because they are that close to the real thing.
Yeah, they smell great.
I love that. I'm gonna have to do that this year. I get a real Christmas tree too, simply because I love that smell.
Yeah.
I love that smell.
And and some people are allergic to real Christmas trees, you know, and so, I mean, those sticks are great, but, and they come in like a little tube,
Yeah.
Like clear tube. I don't know what they're called. Maybe we'll find them and link them in the show notes or something, but, I love those things. And I'm not a huge candle person. Like, I just don't love my house smelling like artificial scents, I think is really what it is. Like anything earthy, that's me, but don't try, like, I love a good Yankee candle, but in maybe like a patchouli scent or like a dirt. If they had a dirt flavor, I would buy that one.
Candle line coming soon. Dirt.
Yeah. I mean, you know, like I just want it to smell like earthy.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, when you go to Asheville and Asheville just has a scent, like the entire town has a scent. Not that I'm trying to make my house smell like Asheville, but I just don't want it to smell like.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not me. Not everybody.
I love Asheville too. It's just a stereotype.
Well, and I haven't been there in forever, but you know what I'm talking about, like that super like earthy granola store. It has that smell. Like that's the kind of like welcoming earthy scent that I want to try to achieve, just maybe not on that same Asheville level.
Yeah. We have literally 2 candles that we like the smell of, and that's it. And they only burn like twice a year. Which is leaves. The smell of leaves.
How's that any different than my dirt flavor?
It's already a thing. Anywho,
True.
but like, cause I do cook, my house the week of Thanksgiving literally smells like Thanksgiving all week long because like we roast the turkey and we put like casseroles in the oven all week long. And so I love that smell, but I also know it lasts because we also eat on leftovers for like 3 days after. And so just the smells of the seasoned turkey and like a sweet potato pie casserole with the pecan glaze,
Yeah,
like
that's true.
those are the types of things that when people walk in, they're like, smells good in here. And I'm like, it's real food and so nice. That's the scent. But yeah, and then the textures, like I love lots of velvets. Like I pull out some velvet runners, just for people to feel good on.
Another benefit of that little side hustle venture.
Yes, more to come.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think you just want people to come in and you want them to you want it to smell like home. You want it to feel like home. You want it to look like home. So even if they're not in the confines of the comfort of their own homes, they feel comfortable when they're with you for the holidays.
Yeah, absolutely. And just can, forget everything and enjoy that time together.
Yeah. Low lighting. I mean, warm.
Yes.
So, well, Salem, I think I pretty much
you hit all three of the things.
All of them.
Planning, the decor. Of course, you can't have a holiday without nostalgia.
Yeah, you can't. And it doesn't have to be hard. I hope there's definitely a woman or mom or someone out there listening that's like, this seems like so much, and I promise you, it's not. Keep it simple. Keep it to where it's maintainable for you. Like even if your menu is literally 3 to 5 items and that's what you're serving, just do that. But plan the menu if you want to host and keep it super simple. Have the idea of style, like only choose a couple spaces in your home. If you don't have all the resources or you don't have all the things to put out, choose a few spots in your home. I mean, like we literally, not every inch of my house is covered in decorations. Like literally there's only, especially for the fall, I think I only have like 3 areas that are very themed out and they're still themed out with reasonable items. So just choose 3 spots and focus on those 3 spots. And maybe over time you might add another spot or 2, but really just choose those 3 to 5 areas that you're like, I want this to feel like fall. I want this to feel like Christmas, whatever it is, the holiday. And then I think the last thing is like all the senses, right? The experience, like you're hosting an event, but you're creating an experience for people.
And that includes you, the host.
Yes. Yeah. If I'm not going to enjoy it, you're definitely not going to enjoy it because you're in my house. So you're going to hear the good music and get over it. I've got Christmas music playing pretty much from October on, because it makes Thanksgiving fun too. Or football. Or football's in the background. I mean, like whatever
combination of the football and the Christmas music. I mean,
yes,
it's hard not to love this time of year.
Yes, it's really not. And Pentatonics, I'm just going to drop them because they're my favorite Christmas music, and they just dropped a new Christmas album. So that will probably be the theme for the next 2 months in my house.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Well, I guess until next time.
Until next time.